And we're back.
Welcome back, everybody, to the only podcast on the internet that knows that we have always been at war with the Islamic Republic of Japan.
And we know that because we are doctors.
Not doctors.
I'm Dr. Silverstein.
I'm Dr. Armshaw.
And on this week's episode, we will be talking about the death of Anne Widdecombe and the subsequent reform press conference that came from it. And of course, the entry of Saint Andy of Burnham into the British political world again.
Praise be his name. Turning towards the international arena, we'll be talking about Iranian War II Electric Boogaloo, because some things just really need a sequel. And of course, England's very sad crash out of the World Cup when playing against Argentina.
And the United States are going to be talking about another political death. Lindsey Graham, senator from South Carolina.
That's right, yeah.
And ICE, the deaths from ICE as they kill again. Cyclospora running rampant through the country. And Trump's Thursday night rant. And finally, some good news. All that and more on Doctors Not Doctors, starting right now. Patrick.
Chris.
So, this has been a long week for politics in the last week of this session, and another, what they would call a heat wave here, but I think it's now just hot and sometimes warm.
Exactly, right? I mean, like after the 34-degree shellacking that we all suffered, I feel like the last 4 or 5 days of 30-degree weather, that's been positively chilly. You know, I, for one, have barely even sweated through all of my clothes, even once a day.
And just as a reminder, folks, for those of people who are in the U.S. or not here, 34 degrees Celsius is in the low 90s, and in a country with very little air conditioning. So
exactly,
and we've been doing pretty well. With kind of the low 90s, but it has gotten a lot hotter, and it probably will for the next 6-7 weeks left of summer. So, this week, it's been a long week, and so we're going to turn to the death and potentially now murder of Anne Widdecombe Anne Widdecombe, former member of Parliament for the Conservative Party, and she later joined the Reform Party.
That's right.
It was surprising to hear of her death, and also it was surprising to hear of the manner of her death. It wasn't like she was sick, obviously. So when we first heard that she had died, it was surprising, and then to hear the manner is, and it seems that the police in the area are now investigating the suspect for
potential left-wing
terrorism.
Yeah, and so which is okay. So here's the thing, right? If we're thinking about Anne Widdecombe, who was, a pretty big name in Conservative Party politics, but was kind of a big name in Conservative Party politics quite some time ago, right, Chris?
She was an MP. When I started working in Parliament, and she was Minister of State for Employment. She has been around for quite a while. She started in politics in 1976. She was Minister of Prisons in the 1990s under John Major. She was Minister for Employment under John Major in 1993. So she had held ministerial positions. She's more known for her kind of very unique takes on society. She used to be agnostic, and then she converted to Christianity. And she, she was in politics. She stood down in 2010, not 2020. Sorry. Right. So she was there for only 1 year because I joined and I started working in Parliament in 2009. So yeah, she stayed in the public eye afterwards, though. Famously, I think she claimed that she had remained a virgin for her entire adult life. She was unmarried. It was it was a lot. She was an interesting character, but she did eventually wind up joining the Reform Party, the Brexit Party, and so on and so, which would eventually become, the Brexit Party,
exactly,
Reform Party. Yeah, it turned out to be quite an interesting ride for her, but then she wound up partying with Nigel Farage and the rest of them, and here we are.
Yeah, well, and this is okay. Number one, and I'm going to state this up front. It's obviously a controversial take, but here it goes. it sucks that she got murdered. Holy shit, that's bad. That's a bad thing.
It's not good
right?
that happened. Obviously,
Yeah,
nobody is celebrating that. Yeah,
exactly. Good, and neither should anybody, regardless of how much you might disagree with their politics. And I disagreed with her politics quite considerably, actually. Like, she was very socially conservative, if I understand her positions well, right?
Oh, very socially conservative. Yes,
very much against gay marriage. Very much sort of, So, again, I'm not. I was never going to be on the Ann Whitcomb fan club. But that said, she hasn't really been massively in the public eye for quite some time. I think the last time when she was sort of big in the public consciousness, she was on Dancing with the Stars, right?
Yeah, I think that was her big claim to fame after Parliament, that she was on Dancing with the Stars, which was a big surprise to quite a lot of people, given that she didn't seem like the most graceful person in the world. Now,
and you know what? Good for her. Good for her for going on to that show. And apparently, the people who were with her on that show felt that she was, a fun person to be around. So, I think credit is due for that. But so it's here. So this is what's kind of bothering me about this, right? Like, the police are investigating whether or not this is, left-wing terrorism. And if it is, God forbid it should be that, because political violence has no place in this or indeed any country. Not as long as you got a democracy going. You have no right to use violence whatsoever. That's just my opinion. But for there to be political violence against a Reform member, and to have that member be Ann Whitcomb, like, it's I don't understand how that could possibly be the case. Not because I don't think there aren't crazy left-wing people. There clearly are. There's crazy people all over the place, right? But why would she be a target of all people?
I guess that's why we call the police. That's why they have detectives. That's why we ask the questions, or they ask the questions, because she wasn't the most prominent member of the party. She wasn't Zia Youssef. She wasn't Nigel Farage. She wasn't a sitting member. So it is very curious why why her life had to end in that way, and it's unfortunate, because it doesn't make any sense, and it never really does. But I guess we'll let the police do their job, and hopefully we can get some answers, and commiserations to condolences, I'm sorry, to the Whitcomb family and anyone who knew her and liked her. And so a lot of people in the House did, and Dikembe Badenoch did spend time this week at PMQs talking about her as well, and earlier this week as well. So let's talk about something related to that, though, which is far more brazenly political. And that was a press conference held by Reform UK Limited yesterday. Okay. So obviously, Reform is in a bit of flux right now, because the leader of Reform has resigned as a member of Parliament, because he is standing in his seat in a by-election, because for some reason, according to Reform, that if he wins this by-election, then the parliamentary authorities have no right to question him on his millions of pounds that were gifted to him by crypto billionaires, because the people of Clacton have said, "Oh, well, we don't care." So I guess that's fine.
Well, now, Chris, this is a well thought out scheme. I think we can all agree, because after all, if you get the people of Clacton to vote for you before they know the outcome of the investigations, that's just as good as them not caring about the outcome of the investigations, right?
I think that you're on to a winner right there, Patrick. And I think that politically, if you ever get in any trouble, just resign, stand against no one but Ben, and then then use that as your defense, that I won an election, therefore I couldn't have done anything wrong, because look, I won an election. That's nonsense. Well, we'll see. We'll talk about that later. But during this week, because of the attack and the murder of Ann Whitcomb, Zia Youssef, who is the putative Home Affairs spokesperson for Reform UK, whilst not being a member of Parliament, and seemingly having not been allowed to stand for any by-election by Reform. Well, we never talked about that a few weeks ago, but he went on Question Time a few weeks ago, and he was challenged by saying, "Well, you've never stood for Parliament." And he's just like, "Don't assume that I haven't tried." And then he stopped himself, and he's just like, "I don't know about your party. Your party is just put people in positions, but our party, we have to fight for our positions." And then everybody did the math really quickly and said, has reform never let you stand? Zia
Right?
Youssef, one of the most prominent Brown members of Reform UK. Why haven't you been allowed to stand? A candidate who might have done maybe better than Matthew Goodwin or the plumber or whatever.
Certainly less likely to have, neo-Nazi adjacent tweets in his past, I would think.
Well, most likely. Well, we don't know. He's still in reform.
Yeah.
So, but the point being is that he went on television in the middle of the day, and and it was very somber at, I guess, Reform HQ, and he said, this has to stop. You need to stop using such divisive language when talking about our members. And then he said, we've had members of parliament who've been murdered and assassinated, Joe Cox, David Amos, as sitting members of parliament, Ed Widdecombe as a former member of parliament, as a kind of quasi public figure. And he kept on, and then he pulled out tweets from like David Lammy from years ago, because you don't have to like our politics. And David Lammy definitely didn't, because he's like, the politics of Van Widdecombe are the politics of the 19th century or the 18th century, and they have to be stopped. They have to be stamped out. And he used that as kind of this cudgel to beat David Lammy over the head with and say, you wrote this tweet a while ago, and now she's dead, and there's the link, and therefore you shouldn't be saying anything negative about people. The left wing shouldn't be saying anything negative about anyone on the right. Is the outcome of that.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Chris, but I have this weird condition. It's a medical condition where I remember things that happened more than 4 weeks ago. And I seem to remember that, there was this whole speech that the head of his party gave, basically calling for race riots, which were then immediately followed by race riots. Was that at all part of what Zia Youssef was pointing out, that like we need to tone down the rhetoric and maybe stop, calling for blood in his own party?
Zia Youssef, now it's funny that you bring that up, because it was a press conference and not what Nigel Farage did, which was a piece to camera. So as it was a press conference, people are able to ask him questions.
Okay.
One of the questions skirted around that. I would have been a bit more direct, but basically, Reform has used phrases like, this person's a traitor, this party are full of traitors because they didn't do Brexit right or whatever, to which his answer was, no, it's okay when we do it because we're popular. And I am not really, I'm paraphrasing here, but not that much. He's basically saying we're the most popular party in the United Kingdom. We've won over 300 polls. We've come out on the top of over 300 opinion polls. What we are saying is popular. What you're saying is hate. So we're allowed to say negative things about other people because what we're saying is popular. And by the way, popular means about between 25 and 30% of the vote. And what you're saying is hate-filled because it's against us. And if you call us fascist, if you call us far right, if you call us anything other than high praise, well, you're inviting violence upon us, and therefore, if anything happens to us, is actually on you. That was literally what Youssef was getting at with his speech to the press.
Wow, I gotta say, man, I don't know how convincing I find that line of argumentation.
Yeah,
I just because if you're going to apply that kind of thing, where if you have like around 30% of the vote, then what you're saying cannot be hateful. Then, when the Nazis got like 33% of the vote in the 1932 election in Germany, does that mean that they were not speaking hate? Kind of feel like they were. Kind of feel like we were all on the same page.
Oh, you can't, but according to Zia Youssef, you can't even make that comparison because they're not allowed. It's not allowed to make any comparison between them and the Nazis because they're not the literal National Socialist parties. They're not. See, they're not the National Socialist Party of Germany from the 1930s. They are not them. Therefore, you cannot compare them to them. It's just like saying, if I stab somebody, you can't compare me to Jack the Ripper because I am not Jack the Ripper from the.
You're not wearing a top hat, Chris.
Not today, no.
Yeah, exactly.
But even if I was, I am not literally. I'm not literally the person who committed those crimes. You can't compare me to that person because I am not the same physical embodiment of that person. It's
and if I were to do that, if I were to call you out for your terrible crimes, which I think we all admit you've committed, Chris, if I were to do that, clearly that would be inciting violence against you. To any way mention the things that people have done is just bad form.
But it's okay for me to claim things against you. And to answer your question, people did talk about, the death of Harry Novak, sorry.
Yeah.
And that they did not, he just sidesteps the question. He sidesteps the questions. And the issue is that people are treating reform wrong. That's the problem, is that reform and the right wing are getting a rough time, and everybody else needs to get over it and needs to start treating them better, or else, you know. And the other takeaway from this press conference was that there is going to be, he's calling for round the clock in-person protection for all members of parliament, because Nigel Farage needs it because he's the most attacked politician in human history, and
more badly treated than King Charles the First, no doubt.
No doubt. And so what the argument from Zia Youssef and Reform is basically that we need to get all members of parliament 24-hour in-person protection. And they're like, I don't care how much it costs. And so immediately in the audience, people are like, well, hang on, that could cost billions, because Nigel Farage took
600 of them.
There's 650 MPs. Nigel Farage said that the £5 million that he got was for round the clock protection for the rest of his life. So if you just math that out to numbers, it's something in the 3 or 4 billion pound range. And so when asked that, and this is probably the worst part of the press conference for me, he didn't seem to know that was the answer that could have come. It's like he'd say, oh, well, obviously everyone's going to agree that we should have round the clock protection for MPs. And that's going to be kind of our, hugs and kisses moment, until everybody's like, well, isn't that going to cost more than the BBC or something? Like, isn't it going to cost a huge portion of what we have? And he's like, well, it was £1 trillion budget, so surely we can spare several billion for MP safety. And you're just like, but what?
Yeah.
So it was an interesting press conference.
You just shake the magic money tree, Chris. Every right-wing politician knows you just have to shake the magic money tree and the money falls out of it. And that's how budgeting works. Well,
there's always money in the money tree for the things that you want. And there's never money in the money tree for the things that they want. So, nothing really came from it. It was another attempt from Reform to change the story, but it's just not working, because Nigel Farage today, we were recording this on the 17th of July, and Nigel Farage today has officially become a candidate in Clacton again. And apparently he waited until the very last minute to submit his papers, but that's neither here nor there. So I think we should move on to the final bit of this section, because today it also launched the beginning of Andy Burnham's leadership of the Labour Party.
So this is quite new. We are on the verge of a whole new government, Chris, without all the muss and fuss of an election. Again. So that's, again, it's baked into the pie when it comes to a parliamentary system. The leader of the major party, generally speaking, is asked to form a government and what have you. And sometimes that can change without an intervening election. That basically doesn't happen in presidential systems. It's one of the fun little differences, I would argue.
It doesn't happen as frequently in presidential systems. It's a lot harder for it to happen in a presidential system. For example, if a president in a presidential system leaves office or dies or whatever, a vice president comes in and nobody bats an eye, because that's the whole plan. And if the vice president goes, at least in the United States, the Speaker of the House becomes the president again. So we have a line of succession. Therefore, nobody is like, oh, who's it going to be? No, we have a very long line. It's like 28, 30 people. It's all of the cabinet plus the president pro temp of the Senate is in there as well. But in the United Kingdom specifically, it just, you go into chaos when a leader stands down. And of course, Keir Starmer stood down because all of his party told him that the game is up. It's all over. And have you heard about this guy named Andy Burnham? He's been running Manchester for a while, and we think that he should come down here with his black t-shirts and thick black glasses and save us. So today there was a big speech. Andy Burnham gave his first speech as Labour leader, having been confirmed at the Labour conference, or the Labour leadership conference. He stood against basically nobody. I believe Catherine West basically put her name down, but because mathematically there weren't 81 members of parliament to back her, it was effectively a null ballot.
She did not. She was not. No one else was in a position to even enter the race because Burnham had locked up enough support to prevent that from happening. Which is an indication, I think, of just how absolutely desperate the Parliamentary Labour Party is to start moving forward and not have any more infighting and just actually hopefully get something done, because they've got to be looking at things and saying they fucked around for like 2 years now, and it's things have not gotten appreciably better in the country in ways that the average voter recognizes and is willing to vote on, right? So if you're the Parliamentary Labour Party and you want to get reelected in the next parliament, right? If you want to continue to have power, there has to be a sense of, okay, well, something big has to happen, something drastic has to happen. We're going to need to show some results to the voters because things are not okay and everyone knows they're not okay and everyone desperately wants something to happen, even though we don't all agree on what that might be exactly. So I think Burnham has a real chance here. I feel like the electorate of the United Kingdom is willing to give him a shot provisionally. He'd better not waste it, is my opinion.
Well, Burnham said in his speech, this is the last chance. And obviously the focus is going to be against reform and the rise of reform and parties like reform. If Nigel, if it doesn't work out for Nigel, if he then has to do another by-election or whatever in a few months' time and doesn't win, Restore might fill in the space of reform. But there's always it is seemingly now acceptable across the Western world to have a right-wing, quasi-fascist, racist political party as part of your normal conversation, and sometimes the most popular party in your country because they're saying the things that people are afraid of saying. But in reality, for me, I think that there's a lot. That's why the title of this pod this week is Saint Andy of Burnham, because there is so much on his head. There is so much being like, it's worse than Starmer, I think. So when Labour came in under their slogan of change, right? Yeah. Right. Everybody was expecting to see
no hope, just change.
No hope, just change. And what happened? They pandered to the city. They pandered to the right wing. They pandered to all the people. They tried to reform. They tried to, tried to be more other people than they were supposed to be. And they weren't trying to be, I guess, for the people, which is what people assume Labour is supposed to be. Burnham right now has no record outside of Manchester, which is unique for British politics, where the person coming into office actually has a record in which you can judge them on. But also he's got no mistakes really, and he's got no victories outside of winning in Makerfield. And I think the biggest problem for him coming up is that he's still playing with the same deck as Starmer was. And so, and if he's going to try and make any serious big structural changes to the country, he's going to find himself with people demanding an election at some point. I don't think that the Tories are going to give him a pass on like, oh, I want to bring in proportional representation or something like that, right? I want to radically change the country in a way that hasn't been like put forward in a manifesto that's put forward to the people. If the Conservative Party or Reform or whoever, allows that and says, yeah, sure, we're not going to, I don't think that's going to happen. And two, Burnham still has the press who are going to give him a small honeymoon period because there's no more news except for Nigel Farage running in Clacton until September, because the Parliament's gone on recess. So Burnham basically has between now and September 1st to kind of establish himself. He gets, this really big window for effectively, it's kind of like when the president gets elected and they have those 3 months after the election to sort themselves out. It's not a lot of time, but it's better than running in day one. So I think there's a lot that's in his way. I think that he's going to be a prime minister, because he's not prime minister yet. Just as a note,
that is true. He won't
be prime minister till Monday, because I think the king is out or something, and the king has. Yeah,
well, the king has office hours, and I'm sorry, but this is just he's not in the office today.
Do you think the king knows about weekends?
I
What
think
is a
someone explained.
weekend?
I'm sure someone explained it to him at some point, and I'm sure he has a vague grasp. You know,
Yeah,
Sundays are
yeah.
probably important.
Oh, but
Eh.
Sundays weren't the weekend. I mean, there's something happening every day in that guy's calendar, I'm sure. Anyway, but the king has to be in a. I actually I think the issue is also that the king's in Balmoral now because in the summer they all go up to Scotland, and
To be
so
fair, if I were the king and I had an option of getting the hell out of London and going up to Scotland for this heat wave, yeah, I'd take that option. That is what I would do.
tangent
Don't
here.
even need air conditioning up there.
This is a tangent now. I think we have to stop calling it a heat wave and we just have to start calling it summer.
Don't say that. Let me hold on to my hopes, Chris. Let me hold on to my hopes of beautiful, 22-degree days that they call summer in this country. And everyone agrees to wear shorts, even though they're all a little bit too cold to wear shorts. But we do it anyway.
Oh, I'm shaking my head derisively. That's not summer. That's not summer. I this is whatever. Anyway, but back to the topic at hand. I think that I know there's a lot of hope. I know there's a lot of and it's not just because of who I work for. I'm as a voter now. I'm not gonna be sucked into the charisma of this person. Or, I mean, I did listen to his speech today. He gave a very long speech. He had 5 talking points in the speech, more or less about, more power needs to be given to, different parts
localities
of the UK. I think that honestly, he's really talking more about England than anywhere else, who frankly have had the least amount of devolution out of the UK.
Absolutely true.
And England has the hardest time of trying to figure out what devolution is.
Yeah.
Because in order for them to in order for England to have devolution like Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland has it, you need to have effectively an English administrative capital with an English parliament in it, which would then say, okay, well, we could have Westminster as like the Washington DC, but let's treat England like Virginia. So Virginia has Richmond.
Yeah.
So if in this wild fantasy world of political scientist nerds, you could theoretically establish an English parliament in like Manchester or Liverpool or York or somewhere like that, creating a totally different economy, creating an English place for English devolution to happen.
Right.
And then have just.
But then the problem is if you put it in York, everyone from Leicester is going to be annoyed at that. And you're probably not going to put it down in Cornwall. And if you do try to put it in like Manchester, well, then I feel like Birmingham's going to take up arms. And there's a problem because there really isn't like a London. There's not an English center that isn't London. And also people are pretty much, pissed at London at this point after, 1,000 years. So that's
exactly
fair. That's fair.
If you keep it in London, which they have, there was a brief period of time in Parliament between 2010 and 2020-ish where they had this thing called English Vote for English Laws, where the House of Commons would become theoretically an English Parliament, or so that they can make laws specifically for England and Wales. It didn't last. It disappeared after COVID. Nobody spoke in the procedural England, which we called evil. Nobody spoke in the evil debates except for SNP MPs who took the piss out of the entire thing because it's totally fucking dumb. Because if you want to do it properly, you're going to need something else. You're going to need another institution in the United Kingdom with another set of elections, and theoretically even reduce the number of MPs. Because so there's a whole nother thing like there. And so basically the whole reason we're on this tack right now is because from Andy Burnham's speech, I just kept on hearing the subtext, which was this is going to sort out England. And he kept on saying, Scotland, Wales, Northern Ireland, everything north, south, east, west are going to be one for everybody. But I think that the only way for Labour to win, to try to win back some votes, because as I've always said, I think that reform has sucked up the votes it's going to get. I think the Greens, you might get some soft Green voters out there, but the idea of multi-party politics, I think, is now fully taking hold. And Burnham, if he can't figure something out, then I don't see how he brings people in. So I think that this is trying to get England back on board with Labour. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah. On the other hand, he's also talking about doing some nationalization of industries and whatnot. I'm down with that. Like they're nationalizing what is it, British Steel?
Yeah, they're nationalizing the steel. They're nationalizing the steel industry. They're nationalizing the rail industry. I'm sorry, GB Rail.
Yeah,
That's coming back.
Thames Water as well, I understand, is going to get.
Well, they're about
or at
to run
least
out of money again. So,
well, yeah. Well, for fuck's sake. I mean, Thames Water is just a fucking shit show. And at some point, we should probably have a functioning water system in this country. So I don't know. That seems like there's some low hanging fruit that could be picked, as long as you can keep the markets from going insane.
And as we've talked about before, I think that is kind of that will be the biggest stumbling blocks, is where the market's going to be like, no. You still have a lot of people on welfare. You got to cut welfare. You got to get that down, or else we're not going to give you any more money, because I'm sick of seeing all these poor and sick people still in their beds. Yeah. I have a very dim view of the market. People who are making 6 and 7 figures, telling the governments that you have too many poor people in your country. Surely you can shave off some of that fat. The ocean's right there, buddy. Just start marching them into that. Once we get fewer of them, then we'll give you more money. Anyway,
exactly. Yeah, I don't know. I do feel like maybe the answer there is just, have more jobs, because if you got a job, then you're earning your own money, and that's nice because A, you get more money when you have a job, which is pretty baller, and then B, also you got a job, and that's usually pretty nice. You have something to do.
Oh yeah.
You got people to talk to, and so yeah, it's less alienating, generally speaking. So I feel like, yeah. Well, I just feel like most people, they're not looking to like skive off the system. It's absurd. Most people just want a job, and I feel like the system has not been very good at providing. But that's me. Yeah,
that's part of that magical word called growth, which we can talk about later. I think we should stop it there.
I think you're right.
Take our first break and come back talking about all the things that happened around the world, specifically in the Straits of Hormuz and potentially on the fields of Atlanta. So we will be right back. And we're back.
Let's turn our attention towards the world, shall we?
Sure. Why? I mean, as I'm still American, so the rest of the world just is dangerous and weird to me, unless it's in Europe, and then that's fine because it reminds me of Disney World.
Exactly. That's what's important, Chris. No, but what's also important is that, I don't know if you heard, but the United States is at war, Chris.
No, I'm sorry. I from what I remember from the dear leader, the war is over. The ceasefire has been declared. The punch was served.
It was. And then it was vomited back up, because it turns out we're back at war. So,
come on.
Yeah, for those of you who have been following the joy of the Memorandum of Understanding, that completely and totally failed to put the kibosh on this here war, part of the deal was that the United States and Iran agreed to use their best efforts to help facilitate trade through the Straits of Hormuz, and that Iran in particular would bend its will towards having that happen. And a lot of people who read through the language that they used came away with the understanding that it was saying that Iran is now in charge of the Strait of Hormuz. And in particular, some of the people who came away with that particular understanding, Chris, was the Islamic Republic of Iran.
Yeah.
So when they started saying, and we're going to let ships move through the Strait of Hormuz, all you got to do is sail through the northern part of the strait, right through past the island of Hesham, and then you stop, and then you just sort of pay us some Bitcoin, and then you can go on your merry way, and it's fine. It'll be great. You guys.
Yeah.
Whereas Donald Trump was telling all of the people who were trying to get the tankers through the Strait of Hormuz, no. You just go through the south. You go south. You hug the coast of Oman, and you just jam it. You just run through there as quick as you can, and it's going to be great, you guys. And of course, what ended up happening was the Iranians were like, "Oh no, we're in charge of the Strait of Hormuz. The Memorandum of Understanding said so. So we're going to start shooting the ships that do what America says." And then America was like, well, we're going to start bombing Iran then. And then Donald Trump announced that, that's it. The Iranian regime are evil. And also we are going back to war, and it's officially war, but it's a new war. So we don't have to worry about, running out the 60-day clock when it comes to asking the Congress for permission to continue the war. It's a whole new war, totally new war, Chris.
Oh,
so
good.
60 more days. This is fucking stupid. This is really stupid. Oh my God, Chris.
Yeah. This is a disaster. Once again, I mean, obviously, when you go into war with no plan and no idea about how it's supposed to, without a middle and an end to it, you're gonna get into some trouble. It's kind of like it's kind of like yelling fire in a crowded theater. It sounds funny until you do it and find out it's against the law, even though you have the right to free speech. It doesn't count for that.
Running right at you and trying to clamber over you to try to get out the doors, and you were just trying to have a little bit of fun. Yeah, no, it's
you got your phone out there. You're trying to TikTok it because it's being real funny. Fire prank in a movie theater.
Yeah.
The thing that really gets me about what's happening again is that, remember with the G7 or a while back, actually was at, I believe, Versailles. And as Trump was signing the MOU at Versailles with Macron at his side, he said eventually at, I think, some press conference, he said, the world had about 4 weeks of oil left in reserve to keep things at about where they are. You know how long ago that was, Patrick?
Oh, I think that
was 4 weeks ago.
Yep. There we go. Yeah.
So here we are.
In the intervening time, Chris, did we spend a lot of money to refill the oil supplies and rebuild that whole thing?
Well, as a lot of people said, it would take longer than 4 weeks to do that. These ships are incredibly slow. They're incredibly big and giant targets, by the way.
And also a fun story, Chris. Not only did we not refill the tanks, so to speak, we continued running through the supplies.
Yeah.
Because you see, the whole point was the war is over now. We're going to have a reestablished it's going to be fine. We can refill then. In the meantime, we need to keep oil prices low. So we've been continuing to run down the reserves. And now the reserves in the United States are at the lowest they have been since the early 1980s, Chris.
Early 1980s.
We're at the lowest level in over 40 years, Chris. And Donald Trump has got the war going again.
Yeah, he restarted it.
It's amazing. And you know what's really great? You know what's really great about America bombing all the bridges in Iran and, hitting civilian infrastructure, which is a war crime. That's awesome. Yeah. Is that the Iranians have a whole card that they have not yet played.
What's that?
Oh, my God. That card is called the Bab el-Mandeb. Because you see, the Bab el-Mandeb, that's the name for the very thin waterway that connects the Red Sea to the Indian Ocean.
Right.
So that's bit where Eritrea is, Djibouti, Somalia, basically that whole area, right? Now, Iran has a bunch of dudes on its side that are in Yemen, which is on the southwest corner of the Arabian Peninsula.
Yes, we've heard of them before.
Yeah, which controls the Bab el-Mandeb. You might remember that we had some trouble several years back when they were blowing up ships in the Bab el-Mandeb.
Yes.
So, So the thing is, one of the reasons why the disruption of oil markets has not been as horrible as it really could have been is that a bunch of Saudi oil that normally goes through the Strait of Hormuz has been rerouted through huge pipelines through the desert in order to hit ports on the Bab el-Mandeb, which it then is able to put onto ships, and it sends those ships through the Bab el-Mandeb, and that's how the Saudi oil is able to get to China and Asian economies, right?
Yeah.
If Iran tells its proxies to start closing the Bab el-Mandeb, we are going to see such a larger problem for the global oil market. It is going to be so much worse. And we're running out of reserves, and Donald Trump has no plan. And this is just, this is what happens when you put people in charge who have no idea what they're doing.
Well, this is what happens when you put people in charge who have no idea what they're doing in foreign policy because they don't care. Their job was to take over America either by force or by will.
Yeah.
And their opinion of how America runs is the same as like a college freshman in the college Republicans. We're the most powerful country in the world. We can do whatever we want, dude. Yep. All right. Let's just bomb Iran. Why? What are they going to do? I'm sorry. Bomb Iran. What are they going to do about it? What are they going to do about it? They're going to shut
bomb
down
the whales. Take their oil.
Nuke the gay black whales. That's what's going to sort it out.
Yeah.
And so I think unfortunately, we can't solve the problem. We're not military experts, obviously. We're just going to have to be like the rest of the world and wait and see what happens. And luckily, I don't drive here, but other people do. And people drive to get us our food, our goods, our services. And, final note, I would say, at least for me, it's July. And in about 8 weeks, it's going to start being September. And 4 weeks after that, it's going to start being October in the Northern Hemisphere. So a lot of those people need that oil, and that oil needs to start coming in now. It's going
to be, after a really long, hot summer, it's going to be a potentially very cold winter indeed.
And again, this goes back to the Burnham question. So, Burnham is supposed to be everything to everyone. And this summer could totally screw him over. I'm sorry, this winter could totally screw him over. Imagine, because like all of the things that Labor had to do, they had a plan. Then Donald Trump got elected, and then the plan went out the window. And then they had another plan, and then he started a war in Iran. That went out the window. I mean, like, it doesn't matter what your plan is. You have to start being able to adapt to an unstable American administration who at any time can do anything. So how do you plan a day and a half in advance when Donald Trump is like, I'm going to nuke Germany? Like, why? Sausages.
I mean, honestly, I got to tell you, like, if you like, who's the most popular Western leader at the moment? And to my understanding,
Andy Burnham.
I mean, as far as British politicians go,
maybe
for that. But no, I think it's Mark Carney, right? Yeah. Mark Carney has realized that the secret to dealing with the Trump regime, the secret to like getting your country behind you when dealing with the madness of King Trump, is to make the politics about standing up to King Trump. Like that's it. There's no other way, right? And you might think to yourself, okay, but what if Donald Trump then responds badly to that? Well, what happens is Donald Trump responds badly anyway. Like he's already talking about 100% tariffs on Europe because he didn't like the last cheese that he ate. Like, you can't plan around him. You can't make a deal with them. All you can do is confront them. So, and I think we can leave that there because it's time for us to talk about football.
Again, yes. Now, it's weird for us to talk about the football because America is out, but England's out as well. In just tragic fashion.
It crushed me. It was so sad. I was rooting for England, and I admit that, even though I am a citizen of the Republic of Ireland, but I've lived in the United Kingdom now for like 16 years, and so I feel like I feel a certain affection for the joint.
Did you watch the game? Did you watch the game?
Yeah, I went to a pub. Went down to the Coal Hole on the Strand.
Which
was air conditioned. It was great. It was lovely. I got calamari, which it's
I'm sure it really was.
But so I was watching it with my friends, and it was great. England, first half, obviously, totally tied, just like very, very nerve wracking. Start of the second half, England scores. Oh my God, we're up 1-0. It's fantastic. And then England decides, aha, we have our one goal. That's enough for us. Thank you very much. And now we're just going to play defense, which it turns out is not a great idea when you're playing Argentina, and Argentina is led by Messi. So they just kept battering and battering and battering and battering until at what was it? Like in the last
80, it was in the 80th minute. God. It was very much at the end, right near the end of the game. Yeah,
they were able to equalize, and then England kind of collapses, and then like Marcus Pickford did his absolute best. That man, was like saving as much as he could, but eventually he's just overwhelmed, and they're able to get that winning shot, and then that's it. So Argentina wins this one, but they don't get the Falklands. So
they don't get the Falklands despite waving a banner at the end of the game. I mean, Argentina is I think they're getting a little bit of hate now. I mean, it was something that I wasn't aware of in the last World Cup, but Argentina is definitely some issues that their fans have had with streamers of color, and of course they made sure that they changed their tops, their kits. From being the normal Argentinian kit, which I believe is blue, white strips, vertical blue, white strips, light blue, light blue and white, to a dark blue kit like they wore on the Hand of God play. Now, if you're not aware what the Hand of God play is, it was Diego Maradona, and he England was playing Argentina, and then Argentina, Diego went up to block a ball that was going into the goal, and instead he basically used his hand, which, as everybody knows, is a no-no in football, soccer, whatever you want to call it. You're not supposed to use your hands. At the very least, we can all accept that association football is for your feet.
Clues in the name, Chris. Clues in the name.
Association football, which is why we call it soccer. Yeah. So there was all these mind games. It was not like a friendly match, and the Argentinians aren't too pleased with Britain/England. We can thank Thatcher for that.
We can thank the Argentina junta for that.
That's true. Oh yeah,
yeah. It was a military dictatorship seizing control of territory it had never controlled before. It was imperialism, and I am not a fan of Margaret Thatcher, but like, come on. You can't do that. That's just bullshit,
Well, and the Argentinians disagree with you.
They might, but you know what? They don't control the Falklands, so
no, they don't. And the Falklanders want to remain part of the United Kingdom. What was it? Overseas territories. So that's what happened in the game, and now England will play France for third place in. Just a thing that I cannot stand about the World Cup. Like, okay, so you lost the game. You lost the semifinals. You made it to the Final Four, right? Congratulations. You made it to the Final Four. And then they have this ridiculous farce of saying, well, somebody's got to come third, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So two teams which were fighting for the win now have to fight for bronze. They have to fight for a third place, a podium finish, and a not podium finish.
Yep.
And I'm like,
yep.
And like who's giving their all for this game? And it's like England versus France, which is also a huge rivalry, both historically and all that. But I think it's just it's so much extra effort. It only really works if like you've never ever won the World Cup and all of the. I think I don't know if Spain's won the World Cup. I know Argentina hasn't won. I'm gonna look this up real quick. But like if you've won the World Cup, like France has won the World Cup, it's like So
but England hasn't won the World Cup in
60 years.
Yeah.
60 years.
So I feel like and look at it this way: if England is able to beat France for third place in the World Cup. Yes, it's third place in the World Cup, and that's very impressive, and et cetera, et cetera. But England will have beaten France if that happens, and that will be worth it all, I suspect. So there you go.
And that will sort everything out. Although
exactly.
Keir Starmer will have to
France, obviously, just close the whole country. That's it. Go home. We'll be done at that point.
I am wrong. I think Argentina. Yeah, Argentina's won 3 titles.
It's Argentina. They're a football powerhouse, and they won the last World Cup, I think. So I mean,
Spain's won it as well. So, but I'm just like, okay, so like, anyway, good luck, I suppose. I'm not a fan of bronze, although it's the highest America's ever gotten.
Exactly right. So Yeah.
So let's take another small break here before we head to the America section, and we will be right back. And we are back.
Shall we turn our attention towards these United States, Chris?
Yes, those United States of America we should turn our attention to because, again, unfortunately, and it truly is unfortunately, we have to start with the death of a politician, Lindsey Graham. Lindsey Graham died just kind of suddenly a few days ago. Very suddenly.
And unexpectedly, it must be said.
Nobody saw this coming. Just a few days ago, Lindsey Graham died seemingly of a heart issue.
Aortic separation, I think was the phrase that I saw.
Aortic dissection. It's an aortic dissection, which is... That
doesn't sound good, Chris.
No,
and also it killed him, so it can't actually be good, can it?
No, it's not. It's such a... Anyway. So basically, Lindsey Graham was a senator from South Carolina, and we will not believe this. This is a test for you because this is American politics now.
Yeah.
Who did he replace? So when he became senator for South Carolina in 2003, who preceded him?
Okay, this is a guess. And I might be completely wrong about this. And if I am, I apologize to the good people of South Carolina because what I'm about to suggest here would not speak well of them. I'm going to say Strom Thurmond.
100% correct.
Oh my God, I feel so good. Oh, I'm sorry, good people of South Carolina, but you got to get better politicians. I'm sorry.
Strom Thurmond,
Hot damn.
who I think was in his seat until he was in his 250th year.
Yep.
That guy,
He
was terrible.
He ran for president in 1948 for the Dixiecrat Party, which was the Southern Democrats breaking off from the Northern Democrats over the issue of civil rights.
Yeah.
Like should all Americans be equal? And the Dixiecrats are like, no.
Obviously not.
We're going to run the worst man who has ever sat in the Senate, aside from Senator Theodore Bilbo. Like, seriously, Strom Thurmond was is a piece of shit. He was a piece of shit when he was a Democrat. And then, of course, the Democrats stopped being the party of pieces of shit. So he had to become a Republican.
Read into that what you will.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So, but seriously, he was part of a whole wave of white supremacists who had been members of the Democratic Party, who joined the Republican Party sometime around the 1960s. Can't imagine why. Everyone in America pretends we don't know what happened there. But yeah, so it's not entirely. There's only 2 Senate seats in South Carolina. Someone had to take his seat, and it was Lindsey Graham. And let's talk about Lindsey Graham for just a little bit.
Lindsey Graham. Lindsey Graham has had a long history. He was in the House of Representatives from 95 to 2003. He was in the South Carolina House of Representatives. Kind of a typical American rise to power.
Well, but not just a typical American rise to power. He's really someone that you would want to think about for seeing what has happened to the Republican Party. Because when did he enter the House of Representatives, Chris?
1995.
And what year was he elected then?
1994.
Exactly, the Republican Revolution. That's when the Republicans take control of the House of Representatives for the first time in decades at that point.
This is the 1970s. The Manifesto for America or whatever.
The Contract with America.
Contract with America with what's his face?
Gingrich.
Newt, yes.
Exactly.
People wearing it around their neck when they're around.
Well, yeah. And this was the beginning of the infascification, if I can use that phrase, of the Republican Party. Thank you.
Yes.
Right? Because this is the time where all of a sudden you have Rush Limbaugh being absolutely huge on the radio. Yes. You've got G. Gordon Liddy talking about shooting federal agents in the head so you don't hit their bulletproof vests. You've got, the attack on the Murrah building in Oklahoma City, right?
Oh, the Oklahoma City bombing, yes.
Exactly. So this is a time of this in real recrudescence of right-wing violence in the United States. And he is leading the charge in the Congress for this new radicalized Republican Party. But you know what they say about old buildings and whores, Chris?
What is that?
If they last long enough, they become respectable, just like politicians.
Oy.
Yeah, so there you go. That's my off-color, very historical joke for the pod episode.
For the pod, yes.
Yeah, exactly. But so he comes in as part of one of the bomb throwers and all that kind of thing. He ends up moderating. He mellows because it turns out that doesn't play too well after a little bit. And so after leading the impeachment of Bill Clinton,
yes,
he ends up, moderating, chilling out, gets elected to the Senate, becomes big friends with John McCain, right?
Right.
Joe Lieberman. He positions himself as this moderate centrist, willing to cross the aisle. Exactly. They were called the Three Amigos by the press because the Washington press corps is just full of awful people. So basically it's kind of funny. So he positions himself as this moderate. 2016 rolls around. He sees Donald Trump as a threat.
Massive
threat.
He
talks consistently about how if we elect Donald Trump to be our nominee for president, we will lose and we will deserve to lose. He says,
yes.
Right? He is very clear. This man is fascism incarnate. This is not the way we can go. This must not be.
This is while he's running for president, correct?
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Right. He's running for the nomination against Trump, and he's very clear-eyed about what Trump represents. And then, much like J.D. Vance, Trump wins, and all of a sudden, he decides, you know what? I'm going to be the most Trump person I can ever be.
Yeah.
Lindsey Graham goes from being a right-wing revolutionary to being a moderate, centrist, bipartisan stalwart to being the most fashy of the fash, because ultimately Lindsey Graham had no soul politically. He was a man with no principles, with no center, with no morals. He would say anything in order to achieve power. He sold out everything to Donald Trump. And in the end, you want to know what Donald Trump had to say when asked about Lindsey Graham's death?
Ooh, I don't know. Please tell me.
Well, now I'm going to have trouble passing the SAVE Act.
Son of a bitch. Wow.
Yep. So, yeah, no, Lindsey Graham will not be remembered. He will have no legacy. His attempt to create one, to be, to ride on the coattails of fascism, failed miserably. And my heart goes out to his family. My heart goes out to those who know and loved him, because he had friends and he had family and he had
yes, he's had plenty of friends.
He may have been a decent man with other people that he knew in person, but he's also the man who argued for every war he could find, who cheered on the murder of civilians in the Caribbean Sea. He's a man who was the handmaiden of fascism. And politically speaking, I can say this with absolute certainty: no one will miss him.
Well, for me, and I won't spend too much time on this, all I can really remember about Lindsey Graham, outside of 20 years ago and Three Amigos and the rest of it, when he was just he was just a member of the Senate, he was just a member of Congress, and just doing non-fascist stuff. But it was on January 6th, right after he had been under attack by MAGA, and he was under attack by all these people. He had to hide. He had to go. He had to shield in place.
That's right.
And everybody knew what had happened. Everybody knew that this is a Trump-inspired, and it came from the White House. They set up the entire rally. They riled people up for weeks. January 6th wasn't the inciting incident. January 6th was the result of many months of
be there. It'll be wild. Donald Trump tweeted,
if you don't fight, you're going to lose your country. People are getting, so everybody knew what was going to happen. And he was sitting there on the sidelines, just kind of like, I don't know. And then, the rebellion was quashed effectively. The rebellion was quashed. And all Lindsey Graham could have to say, and it's just been running around my mind for a couple of weeks now, it's just Donald Trump will be one of the most consequential presidents in our history. And like every one of the Republicans, Mitt Romney was there. I think he had some stronger words, but that's the most that Lindsey Graham could come to say. He will be the most consequential president of our history. People had died. And he's just like, I cannot for any reason say anything negative about this man who wouldn't piss on me if I was on fire. And and it's so and that's for me, it's more disappointing that there are so many just sycophants like that. But there's a lot of other things we could say about Lindsey Graham that we are uncorroborated and will probably be in a book one day and have been floating around social media. But that, I don't really want to get involved with that right now, because frankly I don't care. Outside of the hypocrisy, I just don't care. If it's true. So
follow us on our Patreon for our real thoughts.
Well, we should start a Patreon with our real thoughts, and we can actually lose.
Oh my God, you're right. What are we doing? We're leaving money on the table, Chris.
Oh yeah, so much money. So why don't we move on?
Let's stop talking about the death of a politician and start talking about the death of someone who matters.
Let's move on.
In Maine, ICE agents opened fire and shot in the head a man by the name of Johann Sebastian Guerrero. And this man was in the United States legally. He was a Colombian immigrant. He had a small child in the car with him. And the ICE agent opened fire and shot him in the head, and he died. This shooting in Maine is not the only ICE shooting, of course. We've seen it before with Alex Preddy. We saw it as well in Minneapolis with Miss Good. And there was another shooting. I can't remember exactly which state, and that is upsetting me. I should know the locations of all of the ICE shootings, but I suspect there's eventually just going to be too many to remember, because, ICE is not a well-functioning organization. And the people that it has been hiring in droves, Chris, ever since their budget got massively expanded.
Yeah.
Well, these are clearly not people who are being chosen for their skills at the job. And do you want to know why I say that, Chris?
I would love for you to let us know.
All right. So the shooter, the ICE agent who opened fire on a man who had committed no crime, who, it must be stated, ICE has admitted was not the guy they were looking for.
Yeah.
Right? But they just opened fire and killed him in his car. The shooter's name is David Bruyette. And David Bruyette is ex-military, which is kind of problematic because also someone who had deep, long-standing mental health troubles. And I don't just mean like he would get depressed sometimes. I mean that he had severe bipolar disorder and a long history of violence against women. So
yeah,
he,
I believe his wife spoke out, or his ex-wife spoke out.
Oh yeah, no, his two ex-wives have both spoken to the media. His first ex-wife has agreed to go forward and be named because apparently, like, he called her after the shooting to say, you need to say I'm a good guy. You need to be my character witness. You need to not tell them about the time I threw boiling water at you and our baby.
Wow.
Because he did that. He threw boiling water at her and while she was carrying their infant child. Because he's a violent man who has a long history of violence against his first ex-wife, against his second ex-wife. This is fun. You're going to like this one. He called his first ex-wife a little while ago, and in the middle of a rant shouted that people should come along and slit her throat and all of her children too. And he's not saying that he would do it, no, but he is saying someone should have done it already.
Wow.
So yeah, so this is the guy with a long history of violence, with a history of not really keeping a job for more than a year. This is a guy who should never, ever, ever have been given a gun. And this is the guy that I hired anyway.
Oh, yeah.
And if they're hiring people like this, who are clearly not people you want to give any power to, right? Like it's one thing to suffer from mental illness and get treatment. This man refused to get treatment.
Right.
He used his illness as an excuse to commit violence against others. And now he's killed someone, right? If ICE is hiring people like this, if they're putting dangerous people on the streets and giving them the power to kill, then things are even worse than we thought. So yeah. Oh, and also it should be noted, ICE lied again and said that Guerrero had weaponized his car and tried to drive it at the ICE agent. Just like they said with Miss Good and with
Renee Good and
with Renee Good,
a number of people in Chicago. I believe the person got shot in Chicago. Every time, because they're trying to pull people out of cars, they're trying to. Usually, the ICE is using the cars to try to box people in and push the cars off the road. Mm-hmm. This is obviously another spark in America. Once again, ICE has killed someone who they had no reason even talking to. They had no reason to try to pull this person over. They had no reason to try to stop this person. The person was here legally, was in the United States legally, had done everything right, had followed all the rules, and because there is a push from the White House to just punish people who are brown immigrants, or at least you might believe they are brown immigrants. Another person has died unnecessarily, murdered. And obviously, here's another take as well. It took place in Maine. So you have a senator in Suzanne Collins.
Yes,
who's going to say, and the question is she going to have to support this? Is she going to have to? She'll have to figure out ways to support ICE, but ICE has now just done something very bad in her state. In July, 4 months before an election. So people aren't going to forget about it. And I mean, I don't know who the new person is, because as we said last week, Graham Plattner, the main Democratic
Party. Yeah, that's right. The main Democratic Party hasn't chosen a new candidate yet, but they do have, I think, until the 20th. If I remember correctly,
that's in just a few days. So
yeah, exactly.
We need to sort ourselves out.
It's interesting that you bring up Susan Collins, because here's the thing. So after the shooting happened, already there was like a bit of a backlash, enough of a backlash that ICE announced that they were going to stop having their agents pull people over. They were going to stop having their agents go after people in cars, because clearly the people running ICE were like, okay, this is this is not the kind of coverage that we want here. We can't have this again. So they put an announcement they're going to stop doing it. And they do this immediately after Susan Collins put out a statement saying, we need an investigation. We need to know exactly what happened here. We shouldn't rush to judgment, but this is bad that a man has been shot dead. So Susan Collins tried to get out in front of it, right? And was able to say, oh, look, they've rescinded the policy. They're not moving forward with the policy. Look at what I did. This was so great. She was all ready to be able to say, I have helped to moderate ICE. And then do you want to know what Donald Trump did?
Oh, please tell me.
Oh, he immediately truthed out that they're going to be continuing with the policy of having ICE pull people over.
Yeah.
So even ICE is like, yeah, we have to stop doing this. And Trump is like, nope, you need to do it more.
Like I said, the directive from the White House is to keep the pain going. It doesn't matter who you kill as long as you keep the pain going, because for some people, that's what you want to see. You want to see hurt. So I unfortunately, I think we have to move on because something else has happened in America.
Oh, good.
It's not as deadly, but it is quite bad. I'll basically. There is an outbreak of cyclospora. Yeah. If you don't know what that is, it's basically food poisoning of one of the worst kinds. You can get it from basically vegetables, and the main symptom is explosive diarrhea.
It sure is.
It is long-term explosive diarrhea, which is now basically ravaging some states in America. And while it is funny, I also remember that I have friends and family in America, some of whom may have gone to the places where they're serving this lettuce and vegetables. And it is obviously concerning. But there's a bigger issue here, not just that people are getting sick and nobody wants to be dealing with multiple day-long explosive diarrhea.
Exactly, right.
But it's why it may have breached the normal food safety systems. Now, why would it have breached the food safety systems, Patrick?
Well, that's funny, Chris, because the thing is, the federal government for a long time has had people on the case following and tracking cases of cyclospora because you don't want it getting into the food supply.
Yeah, it's
diarrhea. Exactly, right? And for the record, there are ways to prevent it from happening. One of the big ways to prevent it from happening, Chris, is to make sure that there are porta potties on the farms. Because the thing is, cyclospora only spreads through contact with human waste. Only spreads. We are the only spreaders of cyclospora.
And I think it's really important here to be very clear that when we have immigrants, usually coming in from other countries to work on our farms, not only do we pay them nothing in America, there's also nowhere for them to go to the bathroom. So they have to just go where they are. And because I'm assuming that a porta potty is too much of an extravagance for a farmer or whatever giant machine farm is there. So
it would be. It would be, Chris, if the government didn't say, no, you have to provide porta potties because otherwise people are pooping near the crops. You can't have people pooping near the crops. That's a bad thing, right? So the government, has mandated proper bathroom facilities for workers on farms because of fucking course. Come on, guys. This is so obvious, right? At least they used to.
Oh, they used to.
Yeah, because Maha, you see, got in and Doge got in. And between Maha and Doge, they shut down the people tracking cases of cyclospora. They shut down the people checking whether or not porta potties are being provided because it's just useless regulation, Chris. It's just
more red tape.
It's shackling business.
More red tape.
Exactly. So they got rid of the red tape, which means that the farmers got rid of the porta potties. Which means that some human waste got in contact with a bunch of fucking lettuce, and now cyclospora is breaking out everywhere. Apparently, if you eat at Taco Bell, which I don't think this is Taco Bell's fault.
Of course not.
Their food's already terrible. Like they're not trying to make it.
I heartily disagree with you on that one.
Fair. That's fair. But one of their suppliers.
Anyways, moving on.
They get a bad rep. But yeah. So one of their suppliers for vegetables, for lettuce, apparently this appears to be, from what I hear, Taylor Farms, which is fun because they're a farm that has a long history of, poisoning people. So they're not great at the whole following best practices. Let's say it would appear. So this is like this really awfully looks an awful lot like, Maha and Doge, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and Elon Musk have made Americans eat shit, Chris. That is what has happened.
I'm glad we got there, and I'm glad that's what happened. It would have been the title if it had not been for Saint Andy coming into power in the Labor Party, and that is exactly what's happening. I mean, if you don't give anyone a place for them to do their business, they're going to have to do it next to where we get our food. I don't understand why this just isn't, I don't understand why the government doesn't pay farms to make sure that there are proper facilities on all these farms so that you can run to them and so that we're not having to overcharge for the food or whatever. Because
it's a fucking porta potty. They can afford it. Like,
I don't care. I don't want them to have an excuse to not do it, because as soon as Baja got in and said, well, we got to get rid of all these red tape and all this stuff. Do we need porta potties? No, they'll just work from 12 to 12 or from 6 to 6 or whatever, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., picking stuff. And it's fine. If they need to go, they could just go wherever they want. They're all guys. It's fine.
Exactly.
It's, again, college Republican thinking. It's just, why do we need to care about porta potties in the fields? Oh, I'm not going to be there, so I don't care. Well, dude, you're eating the lettuce that they're dumping on. And then people and now they're having explosive diarrhea. Don't vote MAGA.
Yeah, like if you prefer not to eat shit, don't vote for MAGA. I think this is a lesson we can all take. We can all learn from and possibly apply to the politics of other nations.
That's the
reform. So,
that's the slogan. If you don't want to eat shit, don't vote MAGA.
Yep. Good. I like it. I approve.
Let's move on to our last bit for today before good news.
Speaking we have diarrhea, but this time of the verbal variety.
Yeah. Let's talk about last night. Trump gave a speech from the White House, which had been long trailed for the past week. As
an address to the nation.
I'm sorry, you're right. And it was an address to the nation, which effectively said China hacked the elections and they got all this information that they should have had. They get all this information that they should have had, and they shouldn't have had, and so they completely.
And that's why Donald Trump lost the election.
And that's why he lost the election in 2020. As early as 2016, there are people dealing with that. The problem is that almost everything you said was dog shit. Literally, they put out a kind of a declassified briefing, which proved Russiagate. Because they put out a declassified briefing that said Russia actively tried to get Donald Trump elected either in 2016 or I think it was in 2016.
Definitely in 2016. I know. I was there, Chris.
And the China stuff was completely unfounded. And it basically countered everything that he said with facts, and only it was the opposite of what he said. And this is the thing that really gets me. The most important thing is that a lot of news networks did not cover the address to the nation. ABC,
they didn't run it live, did they?
And CNN did not run it live. I think CBS ran it, but with fact checks alongside of them. So it kind of doesn't matter what he said. If we were in a place where the United States president gives a address to the nation, it used to be that is a special report, everything stopped. And there's no way to avoid it. And now it's like the major news networks are like, listen, because he lies so much, we cannot trust that what he's going to say. So we're going to have to wait for what he says, and then we're going to have to filter it and then see if it's actually true.
Well, and what's interesting, Chris, is that this is a little bit of a turnaround, right? Because in the 2016 campaign, like for years and years and years, anytime Donald Trump announced he's going to give a big speech, you had the major news organizations. You had CNN, you had Fox News, like you had them camped out waiting, usually an extra 45 minutes before Trump would roll in and start his bullshit speech. But like you would have them hanging on his every word and showing it and interrupting things in order to show it live. Because, he was good copy and he was going to say some crazy shit. And then everyone would there'd be engagement on the website, which everyone loves, right?
Well, that's the whole reason for it,
Yeah. But what's really interesting about this is that in the case of Fox News, their reaction to the speech, I think, is telling.
Sure.
Fox News's reaction was to say, we have no evidence at all that the 2020 election was unsound. They were very clear. There's no evidence for anything that Donald Trump is saying right now. Do you want to know why Fox News did that, Chris?
I would love to know why.
It's because the last time they decided to fuck around with those stupid conspiracy theories, they got sued by Dominion for $750 million, Chris, and they had to pay $750 million. That's not something Fox News wants to do again, you see.
Yeah. No, it doesn't make good copy to have to give nearly $1 billion to somebody. But however, I did recently hear that Dominion was purchased by a Trump supporter.
That's fun.
Yeah. Basically a lot of people.
Should we start a conspiracy theory, Chris?
Oh, I don't think we have to start it. I think it's already there. But I think the main issue now is that people are. This is what happened in 2020. So in 2020, around kind of September, November, September, October, Trump started talking about kind of the poll, like the votes isn't going to be right. Something's going to be wrong with the election. Something's going to be unsafe with the election. And we're going to have to start questioning the election. He started talking about this more and more and more and more, which eventually became January 6th. Don't forget about stand back and stand by.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
How could I forget?
So that was all planned. I'm sorry, that all seemingly is planned. Yeah, to create this environment in America that you have a large amount of people who believe that that something is completely wrong with the outcome of the election, and more importantly, that the president, if the president and MAGA lose, then it had to have been false. But if they win, it has to be real. And so this is, and I believe this is the beginning of that China has infiltrated our elections. And of course, in Georgia, they use paper ballots. So I don't know how you do that. That, Venezuela is using Dominion, and I don't know how you do that.
Hugo Chavez has come back from the grave, Chris.
Though there was that as well.
Exactly. It's been on all the papers. And my only response to that is to point out what Thomas Massey, soon to be ex-Republican congressman from Kentucky, had to say on the subject, which was this. This is a stupid argument, because if we take Donald Trump seriously, what he is saying is that the 2016 election, which was overseen by Barack Obama, was fair because Trump won it, and the 2020 election, which Trump lost and was overseen by Donald Trump, was rigged. And then the 2024 election, which was overseen by Joe Biden, but which Trump won, is reliable. So what he's saying is, anytime the Republicans are in charge of the election, it's rigged. And the only way you get fair elections is if Democrats are in charge.
Yeah. Logic doesn't work with these. And it's not supposed to work because it's not supposed to be long term. It's supposed to be just enough to get you in charge so that they don't need your vote anymore.
Exactly.
So, a lot of people I heard some pretty wild takes from the left about what this speech could be. It wasn't that. It wasn't the announcements of the National Emergency Act. It wasn't, it wasn't anything like that. But it definitely is throwing down the gauntlet to say, our elections, as far as Trump is concerned, our elections were rigged or compromised in the past, and who knows, it might be compromised in the future. All of it is dog shit. It is just, trying to create an environment of distrust again, because all of the polls are showing that the Republicans and MAGA are in some trouble. Because nobody likes Trump.
Them.
Nobody likes.
Yeah. He's deeply unpopular. He keeps fucking things up. He's made everything more expensive. He's broken all of his promises. He lies all the time, and nobody thinks it's cute anymore. It's not fun. It was funny.
It was funny when it didn't affect you, but now it's affecting people. It's a circle of politics.
Now America's shitting itself.
Yeah, quite literally, America is shitting itself.
Yeah. So it's I think this is what Heather Cox Richardson, who, if you don't follow, you probably should. She's a historian who's building a presence on YouTube, and she's doing pretty good at it. But so she makes the argument, what we're seeing here is the slow dissolution of the Trump administration. They're starting to lose power, and they don't know how to handle it. And that doesn't mean that they are not dangerous as all hell. They are extremely dangerous right now, but they know that they're losing. Yeah,
I'd say it's probably going to get more dangerous.
Yep,
so let's leave it there because we're going to finish it off with some good news. And today's good news comes to us from Clacton. Clacton on by sea, upon sea.
Clacton by sea.
On sea, by sea.
I think it's by. You got to get your prepositions right, Chris, if you want to talk about your English seaside towns.
Well, I mean, there's so many different ways of saying it, or different types of towns. But now the reason we talk about Clacton on Sea is because the honorable, well, not anymore, Nigel Farage is Mr. Farage is standing for Parliament for a seat that he had already had, and he dropped it so that he could avoid scrutiny for about 6 weeks. He is obviously
a carefully thought out scheme, Chris.
In a carefully thought out scheme, but and they all thought that the other parties would go running to Clacton to fight the by-election, and because this is Reform's plan is that we're going to show that we're really popular, that we're beating the establishment parties, blah 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 blah, and none of them decided to stand. We thought last week that maybe the Greens would stand, but just after we stopped recording, the Greens said we're not standing, Restore's not standing, the Libs aren't standing, the Tories aren't standing, Labor's not standing, no big party is standing. I will now give you the list of who is standing, and I'll tell you who the good news is for, and see if you can pick it out. Somebody called Mr. Fishfinger, this is a true person, is standing as an independent. He has vowed to batter reform and win over voters with policies including blah, blah, blah. Lawrence Fox, douchebag, is standing as well. He sucks. John Stevens of Rejoin EU is standing, former conservative MEP. The monster raving loony party is standing, of course, because they got all sorts of money for the deposit. Luke Worley, who was some kind of reality TV star, apparently he was on Dating Naked.
Good for the
he's
CV.
Standing.
Is he putting on some clothes for this one?
Who knows? Might help him if he doesn't. William Colston from the Social Democratic Party is standing. Piers Corbyn is standing.
Oh, come on, dude.
Of course, Piers Corbyn is standing. Adham Al-Khatib, Forward Party. He's going to be anti-corruption and pro-worker. Kai Stevens is standing. Mark Berger, somebody named Cap. By the way, each one of these people had to put down 500 pounds in order to stand. It's not, you can't just do it for free. Reese Cowan is standing. Robert Elwes is standing. Abby Hookway is standing. Amy Morris is standing. Derek Norbert Morris is standing.
Norbert Morris. But sorry, wait, no, I was trying to do a joke and it didn't land. Oh, no.
Katan Kumar Piplaya of UK Voice is standing. Daniel Popcock is standing.
Well, if you can't beat a Popcock, Chris, I just don't know what to tell you.
I don't know what to tell you either. But the one person on here who is standing most of all, the one person that we're all pulling for is Count Binface. Count Binface is a comedian who wears a giant trash can on his head, and he mocks politics. And he stands in every election, especially the big ones, whether it be a prime minister or not, who cares? But he stands in all these elections, and he apparently is the person that Nigel Farage has the most to fear.
Because here's the thing about Kent Binface, right? Is that he's got a great costume. It's just a great costume. It's just beautiful. It's
a lot of work into that.
Darth Vader meets a bin, and it's a thing of beauty, right? He's also very funny, and he comes by it honestly. Because you want to know what Count Binface does in real life, Chris?
I would love to know.
He wrote for The Thick of It. Yeah. This is a guy who has worked with Armando Iannucci, who, if you don't know The Thick of It, then clearly you don't follow British politics, and it's fine. I'm not here to judge. But
Veep, if you've ever watched Veep,
Armando Iannucci is the guy who created Veep. Seriously, he's wonderful and great. He also did The Death of Stalin.
Yes,
go see The Death of Stalin. Do yourself a favor. Just go have some fun. But yeah, so this guy is coming from pretty serious comedic chops, which may explain why he's managed to create a character that really has stuck in the British imagination. And now he's running in an election where, God help him, he might actually win. There's a non-zero chance that he's able to pull together the entirety of the non-Nigel Farage votes.
Yeah.
And if that were to happen, I think that Farage might actually have something to fear
This could be his largest polling yet. And obviously, Nigel Farage, as we already said earlier, has put in his nomination papers basically very close to the last minute. But he is also on the list. But yeah, I mean, Count Benface has been all over television, which is ridiculous. And it is a giant kind of FU to the establishment, while also, providing people with a true chance to, scare the hell out of Nigel and reform.
Seriously, if you can give Nigel a kicking while also putting two fingers up to the establishment, why would you not do that? My God,
it only makes sense. It only makes sense. So, to Count Benface, all the best of luck to you when the election happens. God, I don't even know when it's going to happen. I should check. I'm assuming it's going to happen in the next few weeks. I'm sorry, it's on the 13th of August. So on the 13th of August, we'll find out how many votes Count Benface got, along with the 19 other members who are standing, specifically Mr. Fishfinger, who I don't like that. I don't like that at all. But
you don't
good
like
luck.
Fish fingers, Chris?
I love fish fingers. I don't want Mr. Fishfinger though.
Yeah, that sounds like someone who's done something unwholesome with cod.
Yeah,
and
I mean, just stick to Gordon's. So anyways, I believe we have waffled on enough. And so as
we're gonna
always,
let you go.
Yeah, we're gonna let you go. We're gonna let you go now. But as always, I'm Dr. Silverstein.
I'm Dr. Armshaw.
And we are doctors,
not doctors.
Good night.